Welcome back to another episode of the Astrology Magic Podcast, where we talk about astrology in a way that helps you make magic in your life. And I am Rachel, your host and your astrologer, and I'm here with my lovely boyfriend. I'm here with my lovely boyfriend whose name is Ryan. He's so silly.
You know him, you love him. Guys, we were just going into a complete goofball fest beforehand. My favorite thing to do is whenever we're doing a podcast, I'm like, how can I make Rachel laugh so hard that it will take her a few minutes to make her composure at the beginning of an episode, just to make things interesting. All right. I gotta throw a curveball every once in a while. All right. I can't let her figure me out. All right. We got to keep the mystery going here.
Yeah, So he was on he's a mystery because he was on 2 episodes ago and now he's popping back up and everyone's like, where did he come from? How's
Well, guys, the first thing you need to know about me was I was cesarean birth. So we don't have to go back that far. But you guys had mentioned that for one reason or another, you liked having me on here. So I'm back again. All right. Thank you for manifesting me, ladies and gents.
That's why he's here. You guys kept manifesting him. So we had to make him let him be here, I guess. Just kidding.
Yeah, I think you guys are hitting a voodoo doll over there or something. I'm like, must do podcast with Rachel. Don't know why, but must do. So now I'm here.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, I really like having him here. I feel like he grounds me and helps explain the astrology. So today we're gonna talk about the full moon in Libra, which is happening on April 1st, and it's exacting at 10:11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time if you're on the East Coast like us. So you can adjust it for your time zone if you're not on the East Coast of the United States. But we're going to talk about
the full moon. East Coast. Sorry. It's the best coast. Okay.
We're the Beast Coast. So I think it's perfect for us to talk about the Libra full moon because me and Ryan are in a relationship and Libra is the sign of relationships. And when we have a full moon, it is a culmination of an energy. It is a release of energy. So it could be like a shedding of a pattern that's come to a culmination in a relationship. It could be the shedding of a relationship. It could be you being like, everyone, look at me in this relationship, like showing out to the world. There's a lot of relationship energy in the air, but there's also a lot of really interesting mirroring energy in the air. And that is because on the other side of the moon in Libra, which the moon represents our ancestral programming, it represents the people actually at large. And so it's what the people are feeling. It's the collective feeling, the collective consensus. It is the emotions of everyone in our most private self. And so a lot of relationship issues as it relates to our most private feelings and how and us meeting our needs and how we're in relationship with life itself can be coming up right now. And whether we're balanced with life, whether we're balanced in our relationships. And what's lovely is a lot of people are our mirrors right now. And me and Ryan, if there's one thing that's made our relationship really awesome and strong, we've been together for almost 9 years now, is seeing each other as a mirror. And actually, I think we could even talk about, before we go deeper into the full moon, I want to talk about the fact, like, how mirroring has really helped us heal things in our relationship, and particularly projections. Because everyone in a relationship, what I've realized being with you, Ryan, is we're projecting onto each other all the time. We're projecting our ideal of how a relationship should be. We're projecting how a person, like, we're projecting our story onto people and whoever we're in relationship with. And I would actually say that your and I relationship started like growing and skyrocketing at about the 3.5, 4 year mark after we took and lifted, where when we learned about projections, right? With Mark England.
Yes, I would definitely concur on that because, and I talk about this often in my work, but, if we are the creator of our reality, which I imagine all your listeners are on board with that belief system. So if we are the creator of our reality, then the stories we tell ourselves act as these scripts that create the reality we see. And what do so many of us do before we learn about this? Our reality isn't going the way we want, aka we are telling ourselves a shitty story, but we don't know really what's going on. And the last thing our ego wants to do is admit fault. So what we do is we project it out there. Oh, that person makes me feel this way. Or if my girlfriend would just stop doing this, I'd be happy. Or XYZ, whatever it may be. And it sounds innocent in theory to be like, oh, well, she's doing that. But one of the first things Paul Chek taught me as well is if you spot it, you got it. And I really want you listeners to tune into what I just said. Anything that you see in someone else, you only see because you also have that quality. Now, what could be happening is you could be on the other side of that at this point. Like that could be something that you've worked through years ago. And so you're spotting it, but you're spotting it from a higher level of awareness than the person currently going through it is. But also, what could be happening is you could be literally mirroring the exact same phase of that pattern. And those are the ones that I find really irritate individuals. Like when you and I are working through something and I believe I'm totally right and I'm getting pissed. Typically, when we work through it, I realize I'm like, oh my God, actually, she may be even a higher level than I am in conscious awareness of it. And that's to the level that I was getting irritated. It shows me like, oh shit, I'm hiding something much bigger. Versus, let's say that I can spot something in her, but I'm not really that triggered by it. Like I'm kind of just like, hey, you're doing that thing. And if she's like, no, you're not, blah, 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 I'm like, whatever, you're doing that thing. Those are typically the times I find that I might be on the other side of something or she might be on the other side of something that I am, but we're informed by it, but we're not smothered by it anymore, as I like to say. Does that resonate with you, Ray?
It does. I think it's getting into a little complicated layering of projections. So let's stop with what you just said right there is
Mhm.
that we're always projecting onto each other, even if someone else. So I'm just going to recap what I just heard you say. Even if someone else seems to be deeper into the wound that they're projecting than you, there's still a mirror in you. You still
Yeah,
had a similar wound that made you project or have the same pattern as them, even if you're at a different stage than them. And
exactly.
so we'll attract people with the same patterns, even if we're not in the same stage as that pattern. But here's the cool thing I've learned being with Ryan is there's always deeper to go. So even if I'm more healed in a pattern or he's more healed in a pattern that we're seeing in each other, we both can always learn from each other. Like it's still not one person's wrong or the other. And I actually want to relate this to the astrology a little bit real quick. So when we have a full moon, we have the moon in Libra, the sign of relationships. We're feeling into our relationships. We're feeling into what feels like balance and harmony in our life. The moon will always be opposite the sun at a full moon, and the sun is in Aries. So the sun is illuminating something that we need to emotionally release to bring us more into balance. And the sun in Aries is illuminating something about ourselves, how we assert ourselves, how we lead ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we're seen, how we wield our life force energy, how we lead in life in general, lead towards going after our success. But what's so interesting is Saturn in Aries is joining forces with the sun at this full moon. It's a part of this full moon. And Saturn is the planet that causes boundaries and restrictions in our life because it's trying to help us co-create our life the right way. It wants us to build from integrity. It wants us to build from a solid foundation, right? It wants us to build from a solid foundation of knowing who we are and being in integrity with ourselves. And one of Saturn's blocks is the need to be right and to place people on a hierarchy. To be like, oh, well, you're not healed in that. You're the only one doing this. No, they're not. Literally. So I want people to think of this right now because I've even seen this show up in our life, me and Ryan's life, and our friends around us. I'm observing all of these full moon themes. Is there might be a person in your life right now that you think is the problem because they're exhibiting a wound or a pattern that you think you can see clearly and it's impacting you and you want them to stop and you think it's only them. There's a mirror for you right now. There is some sort of projection field going on around ourself, and that is because this Aries energy, the sun and Saturn in Aries, are ruled by Mars in Pisces, and Pisces is the projection field. Pisces is the confusion and our limitless nature because it is the oneness. It is that we are not separate from each other. And so when the planet that rules the sun and Saturn is in a projection field and is Pisces is also where our self-sabotaging behavior lives, where it's also the sign of mirroring. That's what I've learned about Pisces energy as I've learned about projections and we've integrated them into our relationship, as I can see how Pisces energy operates. Is it's like you can't see that if you attracted something into your life, you're doing it on some level too, and you can always learn in an equal proportion to that person.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, an example I thought about that's very like baseline, there's not too much emotion in it necessarily, but I think it will definitely drive it home. If you have a money issue, let's say you want to make more money or you're realizing that you're not good at saving money, you don't have good money habits, etc., who typically may you go to learn more about that? You may go to a financial coach or maybe even a business coach. They do certain aspects of finance too. Now, why is that person choosing to become a finance coach or a business coach? Probably because they were shit at managing money one time too. And that's why they like to work with people who aren't right on their level. They seek out people that are at a different stage of financial development than they are, that they can help get up to their level. And so, again, when we see it in that context without much emotion, and it makes perfect sense, it's a lot stickier and gummier, I find, when it's more emotional things, people butting heads, things of that nature. But that's what I was talking about before, Ray, when I was saying, like, if you happen to be on the other side of something, like maybe you've had something and you've worked through it, and now someone is projecting something on you and you can kind of see it, well, you can remember like, oh, I remember what this was like. I can imagine what this was like. Maybe it's not the exact same, but I can imagine. And you can share with them, hey, I think this may be going on, but you're not really triggered by it. But if Rach and I, for instance, meet on the same level of something, like both haven't been aware of this thing before, then both of us are going to think the other person's just being stupid. But it's not until we can actually take a step back. And one of the questions that I love that Rachel asked is, what are you believing right now? Like, what's the story you're saying? And this is one of the things we'll do with cannabis is once we connect with cannabis, I was just talking about this in a lecture. It's incredible
By
for
the
this
way,
kind of
he's a
work.
cannabis coach, to clarify. I don't know if we said
Yeah,
there,
yeah. So I work in the field of cannabis for anyone that doesn't know. And
which is
I
great
do a lot there.
mirror work because cannabis
Yeah.
and Pisces are very
Well,
intertwined.
cannabis is a mirror. That's its
Yeah,
number
yeah.
one thing for everyone. If you guys don't know any of the work I do or anything, just take this one thing away. Cannabis will help you shift your perspective. It'll help you sit back and be able to sit back into yourself where you can see the story happening out there, but it's not like all around you anymore. And so, one of the things Rachel and I will do is once we get in, let's say, an argument or a tiff, Rachel's usually much better at being like, let's take some space. My go to is like, no, we can work through this right now because my ego really thinks like we're just on the cusp of a breakthrough. But you got to subtract before you add. When you've already been upset with each other and you still have a lot of that dog in you, you got to let that settle. You got to let the metaphorical snow globe settle before you can start to see the image within it. And then when we come back together, we connect with some cannabis and we'll ask each other, like, what were you choosing to believe back then? And it will be like, oh, I thought you were out to get me because of this. And Rach might be like, oh, well, I thought you were being an asshole because of this. And it's like funny. Number one, it's funny. But number two, what we realize is, oh, if I was living in the story you were telling yourself, I would have reacted the same way. And oh, if I was living in the story you did and that was really the truth, I would have reacted the same way. So now we can imagine and understand why we had the reactions we did and not take them personally, not make it mean something about us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and often, like, we're reacting the reason we're both reacting to each other's story a lot of the time ends up being the same root reason.
Yeah.
Like, the same root reason. Like, I think we had a recent argument, and it was around, um, our siblings. Me and Ryan both have a root story of our siblings being competitive with us. But me and Ryan have never felt like we were. I mean, Ryan's an Aries. My chart ruler's an Aries. We can be competitive with each other, but like I don't think we ever realized that we were competitive in the same way our siblings were, which kind of felt like a wound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we just thought people were competitive with us. So that was our story. People are just competitive with us, like we're not
Mhm.
competitive with them. And so the argument you and I, or like you and I started to get into is we both didn't feel seen. We felt like I'm trying to remember what the exact argument was, but basically the root of it was around that I was comparing myself to Ryan and he felt misunderstood and but they were all related to the fact that we wanted to win. We each wanted to win and we each wanted to be seen and we felt unseen.
Mhm.
But it
Yeah.
was tied in, I feel like, to those competitive wounds. Is that confusing? Does that even make
No,
sense?
that makes
It
sense.
only
Yeah.
it
So
only became clear when you and I sat with it and took that space and, allowed the emotions to settle so we could see how we were mirroring each other. I think, like what you said, it's hard to see the deeper thing you're mirroring in each other until you take that moment to, calm your emotions.
And, the thing I want to remind anyone that may be being like, oh man, I feel attacked right now. I just went through this with my partner. Oh my goodness. You may fall into the same thing I do, which is like, why is this happening? This shouldn't be happening. Like, this was a mistake. Like, I shouldn't have let myself react like this. Hindsight's always 2020. But what I want to invite you guys to consider is the human experience is meant to be messy. Because again, what else are we really here to do? If you choose to believe, like Rach and I do, that we're all playing a game called God and Drag here,
We're all
then the
supposed to
only
be
reason,
right all the time and win all the time.
well, that would be boring because again,
Yeah.
oneness is the ability to be connected all the time, to always be quote unquote right, even though that's not, there's no condition in oneness. But if we were going to call it out and put some human qualities on it, it would be like, we're all together, we're all right, there's no fighting, there's no nothing. But the only reason we're playing a game of somethingness, I can theorize, is because we get bored with oneness. And so we're actually here to be messy and to remember what we've forgotten in the moment and to come back together, but sometimes through some messiness. Sometimes if it's a simple argument, it's handled pretty quickly. Sometimes it can be an all day thing. But if you're afraid to get messy with your partner, then you're going to live a very boring life and unfulfilled life. It's just like this, right? If you want to have the best body ever, you can't go to the gym and just do 2 push-ups and be like, oh, it hurts a little bit, I'm done. You got to go there and fucking send it. And the level that you send it is going to teach you what you're made of. And the result you get from finding out what you're made of is going to be an awesome looking body that people ask, how did you do that? Right. So the same way that you do that is the same way you get an amazing relationship. You're not afraid to fall into low levels of consciousness from time to time. You keep your
Yeah, and
integrity.
you're not afraid to be the one projecting.
Exactly. You're not afraid to be the one that ends up admitting, like, oh shit, that was a
You
blind spot. You
project
know what?
knowing that it's gonna lead to probably a mess. No,
Well, yeah.
there's so many times you and I are in a fight where we know this game, yet we both will for 9 hours straight
Mhm,
need to be right until we
mhm.
get so tired that we're just like, "Fuck it, okay, let's see, how we're mirroring each
Yeah.
other?"
But, again, like, I'll give this caveat. If you're in a physically abusive situation, what I'm about to say totally changes. But unless you're in that, okay, to the level you are willing to really go there with your partner is directly related to how willing and able you are to actually stay together. It's the couples that don't fight that scare me a lot more than the couples that do, so long as, once again, there's no physical abuse or anything that dark. You know, if Rach and I are just annoyed with each other and we're like, oh man, she's being a bitch. Oh, he's being an asshole. Like, that's actually not a bad thing. That's a good thing because you know what? That's how the ego can actually help us come back together because the ego says, you're right, go harder. You're right, go harder. So you go harder. And then the other person's ego is like, you're right, go harder. You're right, go harder. And when you guys smash together like that, like two trains colliding, both of you are going to learn more about your ego. Both of you are going to learn more about, like, oh, wow, why was I so quick to think I was right? Why was I so quick to take the person I love and put this story on them like they were doing something to me? Because that would have never actually happened based on the view I have of them all the time.
Mhm, and that could in this energy of so quick to react or so quick to, dig your heels in and need to be right, can be coming up strong at this full moon, and it's because we have Pluto. Pluto is where we felt betrayed in the past. Pluto is where we felt helpless, where we have gained collective trauma, where our triggers live, and it's in Aquarius. So Aquarius is the sign of the collective, of humanity. And so with Pluto there, we are dealing with humanity's deepest betrayals right now. We are dealing with humanity's deepest wounds around belonging, the kind that feel like death to people, the kind that shatter their whole world. You know, like think about getting kicked out of a tribe. You would die. That is a Pluto in Aquarius deep fear. And what will we do? What does Pluto do to never lose again, or to never feel abandoned again, or as a survival instinct? Especially in Aquarius, because it's a fixed sign, it doesn't give up. It's not going to give up. It is going to dig its heels in. It is going to get nasty. It can almost like people wonder how, murderers become murderer. It's like a lot of Pluto trauma that makes them become nasty and project that nastiness outwards. Maybe there's nature nurture, but we're talking about that specific aspect.
Mm.
So at this full moon, we have Pluto and Aquarius, our deepest wounds, in a challenging aspect to Venus, which Venus rules this full moon in Taurus. Now, Venus in Taurus is our values. It's the sign of relationships. It's the sign of money and self-worth. Our self-worth is likely going to get hit at this, specifically related to money and relationships and our worth at this full moon. And when a partner hits a worth wound, people can get really nasty. Like, think about when people have felt not respected or something in a container. Let's say, I'm trying to think of like a good example of
Mm.
what could happen. Let's say, oh, this happened to my dad. I think he'll be okay with me sharing this story. So my dad was doing this big project for this really big company one time. He was a consultant. He did all of the work. He led it, and he like worked night and day and hired all the people, and then they got it out there, and it was a big win for the company. And at the party where they're celebrating the big win, they're calling up the person to thank, and they never even mention my dad's name. They mentioned this guy who they were good friends with that had nothing to do with the project and brought him up to the stage. And my dad had never felt more betrayed and hurt by humanity, by an organization, because Aquarius is also organizations. That was the only time I think I saw my dad cry. Like, I saw that's
Mhm.
painful. And when that happens, it can make you want to protect yourself in the future. It can make you want to never trust an organization again. Like, that's what Pluto will do. It'll completely shut out options and opportunities. Aquarius is the sign of opportunities because it rather protect its worth, Venus and Taurus, and dig its heels in and not get hurt again.
Mhm.
And so there can be a challenge at this full moon around swallowing our ego, swallowing past betrayals and past pain in order to stand up and own our worth and be present with these feelings. But what the opportunity we have at this full moon is we have Mercury in Pisces. Remember, Pisces lives in a projection field. It's also a mirror, but Pisces is also the sign of compassion in its highest expression. When Pisces heals, it goes from fear to compassion. So, like when me and Ryan end a 9-hour argument and we finally see the mirror, we go from intensity and fear to a lot of compassion, and it deepens our love. And so the opportunity is to surrender the old story, surrender the need to be right, surrender the need to protect yourself, surrender the need to force people to respect you, you know, and and see where you can come into more love for yourself and humanity, because
Yeah.
Mercury is in a really beautiful flowing trine to Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, growth, expansion. In Cancer, it's expanding our sense of safety and home. And that's what wants to happen. What if you can feel more at home in your relationships, more at peace in your overall life, more at balanced in your life by going into something that really fears you, by going into something that you're so stubborn about and surrendering it. Like a story, you need to be right in order for you to feel safe. Like, what if you could surrender that, and that could bring you to even more safety?
Yeah. I 100% agree. And like, think about this, guys, right? Like Rachel was talking about, her father puts all this effort in, is like the point man on this big project, gets it passed in on time. The company has a big win, and they don't mention him. So on level one, it's like, oh, fuck that company. Why did they do that to me? Right? I did all this stuff that shouldn't have happened. That's level one. Level two perspective could be something like, hey, you know what? Why do I choose to work with companies that don't value me? Why is that happening? Level three could be, I don't know why I did this, but what can I learn from it? I can learn that, thank you, company, for showing me where I didn't value myself. Because if I valued myself, I would have never worked for this company to begin with. I would have seen the signs. But also, thank you, company, for showing me where my own blind spots were and how I saw myself and how I valued myself and the love I chose to have for myself. Thank you for allowing me to realize where I was making this thing that happened that is objectively neutral. These people could have just been excited. They could have been kind of goofballs. They could have had pressure from investors or whatever. And so they could have been told, mention this person or whatever, right? So
I
we
like
don't
how
know
you
who
said
we,
objectively neutral. Like that's the thing is everything in life is objectively neutral. If someone
yeah,
doesn't have a trauma around not being chosen, then they're gonna feel neutral if they're not chosen.
yeah.
It's not gonna hit the same wound like it would for someone who's had that trauma before.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
and that's very important. We'll go back there right after. I just want to finish this
Mhm.
thought. So on level three, you choose to see it happening for you. It's not that, oh, it's just happening for you. No, what people forget in that, life happens to you or for you depending on what you choose to spell into your reality. Okay. In the spiritual space, people will say things like this, but they won't give the caveat of like, you're gonna have to work for it, dude. Like you're gonna have to be the one that chooses to call out when you're living in shitty stories and actually do something about it. Talking about it forever is not going to do something about it. It's making a decision, and you can make one right now. And like Rachel was saying, this is a big thing too. And I've gone through this many times with Rachel. Like for instance, I have a life experience I've gone through. I have something that's traumatized me. I have something that's a trigger for me. And she might say something and it triggers me. And the first thing my ego says to me is, why did she fucking do that? She knows what I've gone through. But even if logically I have told her what I've gone through, it's not a big wound for her. She's not going to remember that. She's not going to keep it in the back of her head like, oh my God, I got to be careful how I say this because it's not her work to do. And we can't walk around expecting others to know all the things inside of us that a lot of times we're not even talking about. I mean, hell, Rachel said at the beginning, we've been together 9 years and we're still figuring stuff out like this. So you really think that if you've known a friend for a year or two, whatever, you guys don't live together, you're not in a romantic relationship, that they're just supposed to know these things? They're not. They're never going to. And so this has been a big lesson for me because again, think about the world in general. How many people are like, oh, the billionaires, like if they were just paying taxes, everything would be fine. Really? Has it ever occurred to you that you could figure out the same reasons they're not paying taxes and take advantage of it yourself? Or do you want to just be the victim and play the victim instead of actually figuring out how to actually be the creator of your reality? So again, these are all things I've had to work through. Rachel's had to work through. They suck. But what's the alternative? All right. Going through this stuff is hard. Living with it's hard. Choose your hard. There's only one path that leads to something better. But either way, it's going to feel hard.
Mhm. Yeah, and what Ryan just said is Saturn in Aries with the sun. Saturn in Aries is helping us define who you are, define your work, your karma. Saturn is the lord of karma. And it can be so easy to be like, no, they're the problem in the relationship. I'm doing everything, they're doing this. Like if I even build upon my dad's story, one of the ways he took his power back is he starts his own business. He's like,
Mm,
I'm gonna take my power back. And now I'm gonna start my own thing. And I will say, for a while, I think I know that he did have a hard time trusting working with other people, but he slowly like started having compassion and surrendering and opening back up. And then he worked with that big company that like blew up his business. And but Pluto will stop you from ever working with a company again. It will do things like that. And so when you heal those Pluto wounds, you come back into the center. You stop being so black and white about everything. Like, I'm never going to do that. I'm always going to
yeah.
do this. And there becomes more softness, more compassion, more flow, more open to life, showing you that there are twists and turns and surprises, and it can turn into anything other than that old story you used to have. And like I was saying, with Mercury and Pisces and it trying to deepen our Cancer, we're having an opportunity to surrender our old story that's been creating our life thus far and creating this non-balance. And what happens on the other side is more peace because you're not controlling anymore. You don't need to have a death grip anymore. You know, every time me and Ryan have found a mirror, it's created more love between us, but also more softness. So if that pattern comes up again, it ends sooner to the point of we stop having fights around that specific pattern, right? Like, has that been your experience?
Yes,
And then it
100%.
stops triggering altogether.
Yes, and then it actually becomes funny. Like, you and I will joke about things that used to trigger us because it is actually funny. Like, when you realize that you have created the story for yourself that's made your life suck in some way, shape, or form, and you blame the entire world for it, and literally, it's like every time you point a finger, there are 3 pointing back. That is hilarious, to me anyway. It's funny because, again, what is a eureka moment? If you think about it, it's realizing how simple something you once felt was complex was. So again, think about it this way. What's actually simpler, ladies and gents tuning in right now? Is it simpler to think that people really can make you upset, make you mad, and you're just this fragile being walking around the world praying that everything goes your way? And if even one thing doesn't, your whole life is just not what it should have been, right? To should all over yourself. Is
Mhm.
that simpler than realizing and taking the belief system that, hey, actually, everyone out there is also me? Because by definition, oneness means there's only one. All right. So if oneness is where we come from, then who here could not be us? Think about that. Like, we're all the same being, God, experiencing itself through infinite fractals of expression that are called human beings or dogs, pets, etc. We're being human beings right now. That's the game we're playing. And so, literally, if Rachel upsets me, she didn't just upset me. I chose to get upset based on something that didn't go the way that my ego tells me things should be going. And that is what makes the game actually exciting. Because if you're God playing God in drag, you're not a beginner at any of this stuff. You have to make it difficult enough for the game to actually feel fun to play. I talk about this all the time. Picture a game that you've been really good at, whether it's Monopoly, whether it's Guitar Hero, whether it's, I don't know, Metal Gear Solid, whatever it is. If you've played a game for a long time, are you going to keep playing it on easy? Or are you going to eventually bump the difficulty up to medium, expert, advanced, whatever, and beyond? So, what I usually tell people is, and this is a great story to take on, it's really helped me, is that to the level that you go through uncomfortability in life, which we all do, just realize and believe, oh, I must be an advanced player of this game if I'm having to play it on this level of difficulty. Now, the context is, oh, it's not life happening to me. It's that I set this life up specifically to be challenging so that I grew. Again, we'll use the gym analogy. You know, if you've been going there and doing body weight for a while and you're starting to get the hang of that, eventually you're going to stop progressing if you don't start adding some weight to the bars. And then when you add weight to the bars, you might realize your form sucks. And all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, what's this thing called the core that I never worked on? You know, like as you start to get more and more weight on the bar and start to build bigger muscles, there's going to be more and more challenges that potentially happen. And they might be more painful as well. Because anyone who's pulled a muscle doing push ups versus deadlifting, you know what I mean.
Yeah, and one thing I also want to add to what Ryan is saying to bring it to the astrology is Pluto, what we just talked about, is in a harmonious aspect to Saturn in Aries. And so it's giving us the opportunity to tear down our old way of building ourselves in our life and how we view our identity and build our identity and rebuild a new way. So this past fall, for example, I had to go to physical therapy. I have been trying to bypass my natural strength and not build from quite a solid foundation at the gym since I was 15 because I've always been a person who's like, yeah, balls to the wall. Like I can beat you. Like I can lift all the weights. Like, yeah, let me impress you, like Pluto's. Look at me, I'm strong. That's such a Pluto thing.
Mhm.
Um and what did I do? That's actually coming from a little bit of trauma, right? Like I need to seem strong, So instead, I bypass, I don't build a strong Saturn foundation. Now my hips hurt. So I had to go back to the gym and now I'm lifting weights like I'm a beginner and I had to build back up. That's the opportunity. So there could be potentially some like sunk cost fallacy feeling at this full moon where you have to rebuild. It's okay. Surrender to it. We have a lot of that surrender energy in the air. I think it'd be really great to close out. Me and Ryan mentioned Enlifted. So Enlifted, out of the hundreds of thousands of dollars I spent on coaching, I would say Enlifted was the best money I ever spent on coaching. Still to this day, it was the most impactful course I ever used. It's the one I talk about the most. It's what healed my relationship to projections and really be able to catch them in real time. And they are actually enrolling in their next cohorts, and the next enrollment time is April 1st, the day of this full moon.
Holy cow.
Yeah, they said the enrollment dates and times are April 1st at 6 p.m. EST, and I think the second enrollment date and time is April 23rd at 2 p.m. EST. So I'm going to put a link down below because I'm just going to support them. It is Pluto and Aquarius. I really believe the age we're in is giving money to who you believe to support,
Mhm.
and I want to support Enlifted. If you guys want to catch projections, and get really good at it like me and Ryan did, this is the only coaching company I will ever push fucking hardcore.
Mm,
Do you have anything to
likewise.
share about them?
Oh, a lot. I mean, guys, if you've listened to literally even a little bit about me, I was literally just talking about this on a Coach with Cannabis lecture because people were asking about Unlifted. They're like, hey, you mentioned Mark a lot. Why? And I'm like, because he's been the most influential person besides Paul Chek in my entire life.
Best money
And
I've ever spent on coaching. Sorry, I just keep
oh,
saying
100%.
it. So
It's
good.
funny. I was just saying this in Coach, so it's like literally deja vu. But when I first found Mark, I won't tell the whole. I mean, I'll give a very quick
That was
synopsis.
quick
But
one.
we had heard him on a podcast. We then forgot about said
You
podcast, and a
guys and
couple
me
of
and
years
Ryan,
later,
this was back when we worked in cannabis together.
yeah, we would meet in the grow room, and we would click a podcast together on our phones. Then we'd walk around, work on the plants, and then we'd just meet like, oh my god, did you hear this? Oh my god, did you hear that? So we were listening to it together, but separately. If you guys get that. So anyway, we listened to this one on Positive Head podcast with this guy Mark England, and that podcast really awesome. First podcast I think we both ever listened to, but some of them were like what I would call very woo woo. And one of the things that I thought about Mark's was like, wow, this is like really practical and simple. And then I forget about it. Rachel forgets about it. And a couple of years later, I'm going through a Kundalini awakening. Long story. But anyway, one of the days I was just starting to pour my heart out on Facebook. I didn't even have Instagram back then because I started to realize I want to put myself out there. So I wrote this big post on perspective. And in there, I talked about language and how it architects our reality. The stories we tell ourselves are the scripts that run our reality and create our reality. And someone in the comments had said, hey, where did you learn that? I'd like to do a deeper dive into that. So I was like, oh, what's that guy's name? I like looked through Positive Head. I'm like, oh, Mark England. So I just tagged him on Facebook and forgot about it. And he ended up reaching out to me. We hopped on a call and he told me about Unlifted, and something in me just said yes. So I said yes. And so because I first started in Unlifted, I didn't realize, like, I was like, wow, coaching's incredible. Like, oh my God, this just changed my entire life. So we did level 1, level 2, level 3. But in that time, I was like, what else is out there? Like, this is what it's like. And I proceeded to spend a lot of money on things that, let's just say very kindly, were not what Mark was doing. A lot of, oh, Grand Rising, brother. Yeah, it just looks like you need some space held for you. Whereas Mark would be like, you need to breathe through that right now. And it's like, I think for me,
Well,
what I've
and Mark,
realized,
like, literally is a wizard at spotting projections, so he makes you really good at it
yeah.
too.
And again, like, this is the best life skill I have ever gained in my life, is to be able to recognize when I'm projecting and then choose to tell myself a more empowering story. And by empowering, I mean, no, Rachel didn't make me upset. I just made myself upset. And now I want to figure out why. Because it immediately takes your power back. It immediately puts you back in your seat of sovereignty. And that is what the world needs way more right now than some other things that are out there. Just put it that way. And Mark is a very straight shooter. And that's why we've continued to work together for years and years and years. Mark, me,
He's
Rachel, Adam,
one of
Jim,
our
Mark's business
best
partner.
friends. Like,
No, literally.
out of all the coaching we did, we got close with him and stayed close with him the most
And Mark and
because
I
of
have
how
done so.
powerful.
Yeah, when I think about Unlifted, I think about the age of Aquarius because who they are is so accurate to who Rachel and I are. We want everyone to help each other. If anyone knows Rach and I, if you got something going on and we're homies with you, we'll post about it. We'll email our list about it. Like, we love that shit. And Mark and Lifted do the same thing. And that's why we vibe so well, because there's no like, oh, nickel and diming each other. Like, oh, if I send this to my list, are you going to send it to yours? Like, nah, man, we just all know it's going to work out, because when you put beauty into the world, you get beauty back. And so if you guys are looking for literally the foundation of what has allowed us to build our businesses and do everything we do, look no further than Lifted. It is absolutely amazing. And not only that, not only are you going to gain an amazing life skill, you're going to be able to come to all the amazing farmhouse parties and lake house parties and all the parties that we go to with Mark, all the parties we run. I do a lot of the medicine work
All
there.
right, now
And
it's
it's
starting to sound
fucking
like a
a
cult. I'm
lot.
like,
Man, just saying, right? It's not a cult, but pick your Nikes up at the door, all right?
oh my God, just he's silly. All right, we'll put the link for that down below, just because clearly we recommend it.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's amazing, and they're family to us.
Yeah.
They've been absolutely incredible, and they're just really good friends, and they're hilarious as well. I'm a goofball, and I have almost found no one funnier than that crew and who they bring in. So seriously, guys, yeah, if it hasn't been explicitly stated by now, we highly recommend. They get our gold
Times
star.
1,000. So
Yeah.
okay.
Times a million.
We also want to know, if you're watching this on Substack and you have the ability to comment, you might be able to comment on some other apps too, or send me an email at support@astrologymagic.shop. I'll put that email in the show notes too. Do you love me and Ryan talking astrology? Like, I talk.
Do you love us?
Do you love us together? Because we love being together. We like recording together. I'll just have him on like for the rest of this podcast. We thought about going deeper into relationship stuff. We have so much to share on relationships in our 10 years together that have been massive for us. So yeah, let us know what you think about him. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say something too.
Okay.
Because one of the things Rach and I have been talking about is that we choose to believe that everyone is doing the best they can. Okay. So this is not to diss anyone, etc. But let me just ask you guys, if you wanted to make more money, would you go to a homeless person or a millionaire? Okay. I'm not talking about what you think of this person. I'm not talking about the beauty inside them. We all know everyone's beautiful. But if you want to gain money, who are you going to go to? Someone whose results show they can't make money, or someone whose results show they do make money? I think at the end of the day, most of us would choose. I think all of us, if we have a brain in our head, I'm going to go to the millionaire because their results don't lie. All right. In the world of woo woo and all this stuff, results don't lie. So Rach and I were chatting, and we were talking about how in the world, there's a lot of relationship coaches and people that are talking about relationships. And you're like, oh, how long have you been with your partner? And they're like, I'm just choosing to be single. Interesting. Very interesting. I have questions. So what Rachel and I were thinking is, wouldn't it be awesome to be able to do a relationship podcast where you guys can sometimes pass in questions, we can tell more stories, and we can make this practical for you guys on literally trial by fire. We'll tell you guys exactly what we've worked through, the messiness of it, the times where both of us have showed up not in our highest expression. But by doing so, we've been able to access even higher amounts of our expression. Would you guys be interested in that? Because if so, we're more than happy to do it. This is something that's coming through for both of us, and we just think it'd be a lot of fun. So if you guys think it would be fun, let us know, and we will make all your dreams come true.
Yeah, and then we'll either do like a segment on here, or we'll create a whole new one. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Just talk to us. This is a collaborative effort, and we're having fun with it. We hope you guys are having fun. I'm excited to hear all about your full moon breakthroughs. Make sure to take it low and slow, because remember, Venus is in Taurus. Venus rules this full moon. Taurus wants to take things slow. I know, I'm a Taurus. Ask Ryan. I'm slow as shit. He's not. He's an Aries. He's fast.
Like a tortoise on air.
Yeah. So be slow and take your time.
I'll be honest. As an Aries, she may, soft talking knowledge, may not be wrong about the going slow thing. Okay. It's been helping me a lot, guys. All right. If you're an Aries out there or a guy like me, all right, it's okay to go slow. Okay. I've learned a lot from it. So my tip from me to you.
Yeah. All right. We love you. We'll see you on the next episode.
Love you guys.
You can find Ryan at The Real Ryan Sprague on Instagram.
There are other Real Ryan Spragues out there. I felt really bad about that because I looked up after, and there's this really cool guy, Ryan Sprague, who does UFO stuff, and he's a regular in Ancient Aliens, and he's rad. So, you can check him out too. But mine's The Real Ryan Sprague on Instagram, YouTube. You can find the podcast on there, both my podcasts. You can go to highlyoptimized.com. If you're like, this kid seems strange, what the hell is this kid doing? check it all out on there.
Yeah, and I'll link my Substack below too, and I'll also link my Certainty Oracle AI, but I feel like this is too many things. So just pay attention to the Unlifted stuff. That's the meat and potatoes of what.
Here's 27 ways you guys can reach us. And if you need an extra 5, don't worry, we got it ready. All right.
No, you need to tell me more.
10,000 didgeridoos. Oh my God.
All right,
Well,
I
lucky,
love
guys.
you. Bye,
It's so
guys.
good with you. Bye.